I've been listening to a lot of Kevin Samuels podcasts and stuff where he has people calling in for advice and stuff like that. And I happen to notice that it's a common pattern for a lot of people that call into his show asking for his advice. Uh, in general, they don't really have an idea of what they want. Like he has to ask them over and over and over again what they want. People don't know what they want. They know they want something good, but they don't know exactly what they want. Um, in response to that, and sort of in response to another concept like the film The Secret. You know how I don't know if you've I don't know if you've seen that film, uh, that documentary piece that was also made into a book and everything. If you're not familiar with the concept of The Secret, essentially it explains that the power of positive thinking will manifest things that you want. Uh, I actually did a commentary piece on that. I can't find it. I don't know. It's lost in the SSD storage or something. But YouTube wouldn't let me upload it, even though I was doing commentary on it, like wholesome, authentic commentary, adding value to it. YouTube has a strong, strong copyright claim against that particular documentary for some reason. But the idea that gets presented in that concept, the secret, is the idea that if you think positive and you make like a poster board or something, um, poster board with like maybe your the house that you want to live in, or maybe the social life that you want, or material things that you want in general. You put that on a poster board and you think positively about it every day, and then it magically manifests through the power of positive thinking somehow in a mysterious way. They don't cover the necessary steps that it takes to get there, like the causal requirements and stuff. Um, I feel like making those two references, the concept that people call into like Kevin Samuels all the time, and they want advice, they want to know what to do to achieve something good in general. They're not clear about what they want. He has to ask them all the time, what do you want? What do you want? What do you want? People don't get it. People don't understand that you have to be clear about um your exact outcomes that you want. It was a common pattern that kept on popping up, and I was like, as I was listening to it, I'm like, you have to be clear. You have to be clear about your desired outcomes. There's reasons for that that we'll cover in this little piece here. But between that Kevin Samuels call-in point and the concept of the secret of putting a poster board up and mysteriously good thinking makes it manifest somehow. This is my sort of response to it, and it cuts out all the bullshit, in my opinion. Um, Obviously, a lot of applications of this concept get a little bit more complex when you get out of the theory concept, but once you get an idea of how this system works, it's very simple. It's a general system where you plug in particulars, and certain particulars will dictate what to do. You plug in the one thing, and it will present a list of identifiable actions to take, behavioral steps that will causally produce what you're looking for. So, without getting too complicated with it, we're just going to do a simple overview of this concept, and I believe this is one of the most useful concepts I've ever uh, sort of formulated. I mean, I can't take full responsibility for this general concept, but this is my formulation of it. I've studied the ideas of Mark Passio, for instance. Um, con- concepts like the trivium and stuff. I'm not going to cover that here, but if you're interested in learning about that, check out Mark Passio's content. Anyways, let's begin. To to essentially manifest what you want in this world, there's no way to really go about it without thinking causally. You don't want to think magically. You don't want to be hopeful about it. You want to be clear about the steps to take. But how do you get to those steps? Well, the actual first step, as far as I'm concerned, in this process is identifying a desired outcome. Like going back to that Kevin Samuels piece, right? Um, People call into Kevin Samuels and they're like, I want to have good things. What do I do? He will ask, what do you want? The way that I formulate it, what is your desired outcome? What is the outcome that you desire? Do you want a specific income? What number? What yearly number do you want? Do you want a specific vehicle? Do you want a specific relationship, social setting, something like that? It's important to be clear about the exact desired outcome you want. Um, the reason for that is there are going to be what is called necessary requirements. As soon as you identify, let's say, for instance, you want a Tesla Cybertruck, right? Um, for it to be the case that you eventually own a Tesla Cybertruck, you're gonna first have to look up what is the retail price of a Tesla Cybertruck. Like this is like data based information gathering sort of shit, right? Based on your desired outcome, like in this example, we have the Tesla Cybertruck, right? There are going to be necessary requirements that you have to identify. That's going to take, in most cases, like, okay, most cases, desired outcomes are going to involve information gathering. It's going to involve gathering information that you're unfamiliar with because most worthwhile desired outcomes are going to be processes and fields of information that you haven't really encountered in deep uh, haven't really encountered in deep familiarity before. It's going to be unfamiliar information. Um, you're going to want to compile all of the necessary information to properly inform you on what is required to own a Tesla Cybertruck. Like if if you can I don't know, if you're a sufficient earner and the retail value of a Tesla Cybertruck is far less than your yearly annual income or whatever, you'll probably be able to buy it outright. In that case, in other cases, you might have to finance it. Uh, if your desired outcome is I want a specific finish on my I want a specific like paint job on my Tesla Cybertruck. You're probably gonna have to go down to the Tesla fucking dealership and talk to the salespeople to see if your idea of your paint job is possible or if it's gonna cost a little extra to make it happen. Like your desired outcome is imagined. It is a priori. It comes from the imagination. Most desired outcomes. Some desired outcomes probably come from tradition. Some desired outcomes probably come from uh, there's a myriad of sources of desired outcomes. Some desired outcomes could be low value ones. Some of them could be poorly sourced, like from groupthink, for instance. So it's important, I guess, to add on the caveat that like there are different qualities of desired outcomes. There could be good desired outcomes, and there could be bad ones. There could be desired outcomes that have a lacking of forethought, for instance. There are other desired outcomes that might have a great deal of forethought involved. So the first step in this system for manifesting desired outcomes is first to identify desired outcomes. And once you get clear about what your desired outcomes actually are, you get and be as specific as possible, because the more specific you get, the more you're going to have to identify the necessary requirements. Like this is like it's like the desired outcome prescribes the necessary requirements, and when it comes to necessary requirements, that's going to be a lot of that. Okay, that's going to be a lot of information gathering first, because you're going to have a list of the necessary information and the necessary. If I could embolden this, the necessary behavioral requirements, the behavioral sets you're going to have to engage in. Many of it is going to many high end desired outcomes are going to prescribe behavioral requirements that are probably outside of your natural patterns, because it's behavioral patterns that are probably not habitual, because if they were habitual, you'd probably have the desired outcome already, right? And if we're thinking about a high-end desired outcome, in this case, we're considering like getting a Tesla Cybertruck, for instance. And it's funny because I'm actually entertaining that concept privately at the moment. So that's the example that came to mind. And my thought process is a little bit private in regards to that, but it works for the example that we're working with here. So step one, get clear about your desired outcome. Once you get clear about your desired outcome, that is going to necessarily prescribe what information you need and what behavior sets are required to actually manifest it. And it's an if then thing. If you do the necessary requirements, then you manifest your desired outcomes. This works for a myriad of things. This doesn't work for just one thing in general. So you have your desired outcome. We have the Tesla Cybertruck. Okay, it's in our example, I want a Tesla Cybertruck. First, I'm going to have to gather information on it. That means looking online, sourcing all your information from as many sources as possible. Hopefully, sources that are thorough and complete. Like you're gonna want complete, thorough information, thorough and true information listed down, or at least stored in your memory or your understanding, right? There is also going to be behavioral requirements in most cases. You're going to have to earn the money to be able to put down the down payment or whatever. You're going to have to earn the money to maintain the car payments and be able to maintain it. You're going to have to charge it, I guess. But the important thing is to understand that there are informational requirements and there are also behavioral requirements. Informational requirements are going to be faster to complete because it's just a matter of gathering the information and listing it in a way that is coherent to you, and making it clear what needs to be done, what actually needs to be done. This is the causal link that things like The Secret don't really comment on, because in The Secret, for instance, they have poster boards where in our case they would put up a picture. They would put up a picture of the Cybertruck, and they would think good thoughts about it, and somehow it would manifest. They don't cover at all the concept of information gathering beyond that, or gathering the information that explains what behavior sets would actually allow you to causally attain that thing. Once you have a list of all the information you need, you gather it and you store it. You can put in a list. Once you get all the information about the necessary behavior sets, you write a list of that. But then you have to do the behavior sets. once both sets of necessary requirements are completed, again, the information gathering is the easy part. The behavior execution section of necessary requirements is often going to be the sticking point. If it comes to social desired outcomes, that's even more difficult. Because in the case of like a Cybertruck, right? In the case of like uh, hoping to attain the desired outcome of owning a Cybertruck or whatever, that's mainly like a PVE experience. It's a person versus the environment sort of experience, unless you consider working to be a social aspect, which of course it is. Earning is social, right? But um, behaviorally speaking, like social outcomes in particular, like let's say starting a family, for instance, that's going to be a little bit more complicated than attaining a Cybertruck because the system, uh, the system of necessary requirements is going to involve more than one person. It's going to involve an X factor that is also conscious. Like you can trust your own mind to a certain degree, like the person that I'm talking to, right? You know what you're capable of. You know to what degree you are trustworthy and all that stuff. So social desired outcomes, it's a little bit more complicated than individualistic desired outcomes in the case of like a Cybertruck, compared to starting a family where you're trusting somebody else to for your lifetime to be trustworthy and whatnot. So that's an important distinction to mention here. But once you have completed the informational gathering process and sincerely ran through the behavioral requirements, you have completed the necessary requirements, and therefore you've manifested the desired outcome. So let's run through it again. Step 1: identify your desired outcome and be clear. Be as clear as you want. Be self and be like, okay, how do I want to say it? Be indulgent. Be whimsical about it. But not by whimsical. I mean, think of all the little details. Like if you want something, think about how it might smell, how it might taste, how it might feel, what color it is, the texture, where it would go, where you would keep it, all that stuff. Like be specific, because the more clear you are about your desired outcome, the bigger your necessary requirements section is going to be. Like that, for some desired outcomes, the necessary requirements are going to be kind of small. For other desired outcomes, it's going to be big. It depends on how specific your desired outcome is, and kind of how expensive it might be. Or let's just say let's just say if you have a simple desired outcome, you're going to have simple necessary requirements. And if you have a complex desired outcome, you're going to have complex necessary requirements. That's a good way to say it. Um, yeah. So once you have the necessary requirements listed, and I recommend listing them. Don't like as Jim Rohn says, like don't use your mind as a notebook. Free up your memory. Let the paper remember it for you. Let your list do the remembering for you if you can. uh, that way you're not burning your bandwidth of cerebral energy and whatnot, uh, maintaining all this data, right? So when you're doing your information gathering, be sure to write it down and make sure it's thorough, because if you go through what your alleged necessary requirements and you've fallen short because you didn't do your research properly, you're not going to manifest your desired outcome because your necessary requirements are insufficient. You need to make sure that your necessary requirements are sufficient, thorough, and true before taking behavioral steps, right? So you can separate that into research and and behavior. And the thing is, the completion of the necessary requirements proceeds at the pace of the quality of your behavior. Let me be clear about what I mean in this case. At all times within a span of 24 hours, your behavior is a stream. Like even if you're not doing anything, you're behaving. at all times, if you occupy a biological organism like the human body, you are always behaving. You are necessarily behaving. And it is the case at all times. If you are serious about manifesting a desired outcome and you want it to urgently become manifested, at all times you could think in the binary sense of opportunity cost. You could think in the terms of, is my behavior relevant towards manifesting my desired outcome by completing the behavioral requirements, or am I fucking off and fucking around? Am I wasting time? I mean, theoretically, you could have a list of behavioral requirements and like have your nice, neat list of behavioral requirements sitting in front of you. You can turn your mind off and go through the motions of what is required without even being there mentally, as long as you're able to check the boxes off. It's almost like the heavy lifting has already been kind of done once the behavioral requirements are specified and listed. I like to use boxes next to it, so I can check the box. There's a sort of, at least for me, there is a sort of pull towards wanting to check boxes. It just works for me. But uh, the important thing to kind of just hammer in is the pace of manifesting your desired outcomes. The pace is determined by the quality of your behavior. How much relevant action, how much relevant behavioral sets do you engage in terms of satisfying the necessary requirements that you have gathered information on and you have listed? How much of that do you pack in 24 hours? If you only pack 1 hour out of 24 hours, it's not going to manifest as fast as you probably like. Probably isn't that urgent for you, right? But let's say you pack 12 hours in the day, in the span of a 24-hour period, it'll manifest a lot faster because you're allocating sincere behavior towards checking those boxes in your behavioral requirements. And you know, uh, obviously, if you're allocating 12 hours a day as opposed to 1 hour a day towards your desired outcome, it's gonna manifest necessarily faster. Like, this sounds basic and simple because it kind of is, but this is a macro concept. You could plug in any desired outcome and it's going to prescribe information to gather and it's going to prescribe behavioral sets to engage in. And again, most of those behavioral sets and information, it's going to be novel information, novel behavior, unfamiliar information, unfamiliar behavior, because again, most desired outcomes that are worthwhile are going to involve processes and information that you have not really engaged in before. So just as a recap, if like in the instance like, okay, if an audience member calls into like a Kevin Samuels podcast and they're like, I want I want a good life, but I don't know what I want and everything. The response would be, what are your desired outcomes? And let's get clear about your desired outcomes. List them out. Be specific about it. The more specific you are in identifying your desired outcomes, the necessary requirements will be prescribed by that, because there's going to be a necessary set of information you need to go where you want to go. There's going to be a necessary causal factor, that is your behavior, that you're going to have to engage in. And it proceeds at the pace of the quality of your behavior. And once your thorough set of necessary requirements have been fulfilled, then you have therefore manifested your desired outcome, and you could start from scratch. You get to move on to a new desired outcome. And if you get really good at this system, you start manifesting desired outcomes super fast. It can be real stimulating. It could be more stimulating than your favorite drug. It can be. I figured this was a useful concept to share. Enjoy.